constructing our final sketch page. This is where you want to be the most confident with your lines. You don't want to be feathering them. You want them nice and confident, just like we looked at in the last video. Try and get this right first time, but if you don't, it's okay. You can always just go back and start a fresh page and reuse your underlays. But this is where things are going to get a little bit more detailed. Maybe you'll start adding some more bits on you didn't in your underlays, things that you think could help describe the concept in this final page and get whoever's looking at it excited about what they're looking at, and hopefully in a way that they understand what they're looking at as well, because that's what you want to do, be able to describe the concept nice and concisely in one page. You can see that I'm trying to be quite fluid with my lines, keeping them quite clean. I'm not feathering them up or sort of doubling them up. I'm just trying to keep it as clean and nice as possible. This is where you can start adding more details that you would have put on your underlays, whether that's branding or material details, stitching, things like that. This is the place to put it on so that you can describe your concept the best you can. You can see there I'm adding a little bit of stitching just to try and make it a little bit more realistic so that it looks like a soft good, and adding the pockets there. And then I do like to put a little bit of branding on some of my concepts just to sort of bring them to the real world a bit more. I chose Nike for this one because I think it sort of suits their all conditions gear stuff. And then now as we move on to the 3/4 part of our sketch page, we're going to add in that underlay that we made earlier and pop that behind. You can see that by using marker pad or this sort of bleed proof paper, you can see through it quite nicely, and it lets those underlays shine through. So yeah, you can see that I'm just trying to be quite smooth with my lines and confident. Just going for it, honestly, I think is the best thing. You don't want to be feathering them or sort of nervous. Oh, you see I made a bit of a mistake there, but it's fine. You can always feather it up and just double it up using thick and thin lines. And just like the detail view, you can see I'm adding more detail that wouldn't be on the underlay, just to make it look a bit more realistic. Just keeping those lines nice and smooth. Importantly, using the proportions of my underlays because I know that they're right. I'm just trying to make it look quite fluid as well. I think that there's something quite exciting about a sketch that's quite dynamic and fluid. Although it doesn't look real, I think that in this day and age we can jump to sort of CAD renders really quickly, too quickly at times. So something like this at this stage of the process, just after your initial stuff, where some people might be inclined to get straight into sort of SolidWorks and Keyshot, something like this is a bit less intimidating, and having that handcrafted feel can really show the sort of effort and thought that you've put into this, that everything's considered. And I really do think that the value of these sort of nice sketches, is invaluable, really. So I'm just going to keep on adding detail here, as you can see, just working to my underlay, adding bits that I think are needed. And then adding detail, stitching, things like that, just like we did with the detail view as well, just to bring the concept to life a bit more and make it quite interesting to look at. And I always like to add a bit of a drop shadow to sort of bring it off the page, make it look a bit more 3D. But I think we're just adding the last few details here now. A bit of a zipper. Just keeping the lines nice and smooth, as we said. Thickening up some of the places where you might not see some of the other side. And some padding. And yeah, just beefing up some of those lines on the outside. Just to bring it off the page a bit more. It's never too late to add some more details to your detail view that you've sort of come up with, and maybe if you've got moving parts, add some arrows, that's the place to do it. And then we're just going to grab our initial thumbnails and pop one of those on the top there. I think adding a sort of thumbnail or a front view can be quite nice to sort of tell the story and the journey of how the product's come along from just an initial sketch. So maybe this is slightly more refined than the initial one you did, so just trying to be quite confident with those lines again, but maybe not as rough as the initial concept ideas that we did earlier on. But still quite loose and sketchy. I think that's the style that we're going for. Quite unintimidating and familiar, hand-drawn. It's quite nice sort of aesthetic for these sort of things. You can see now the sketch page is starting to come together quite nicely. We've got a few different views on the page and hopefully telling sort of the story of the concept quite nicely across different views so that someone could look at it and sort of instantly understand the form. I think that's what's most important here, really. And then for finishing touches, we're just going to add some sort of grids to the page, I guess, to give the page some structure, maybe to sort of add, I guess, some layers and depth to the page, as if they're sort of on these backgrounds or sort of panels. This is just something that's quite nice to do, that I like to do with all of my sketches. I think it just finishes it off quite nicely. So you've got this well-rounded thing that you could use, or you could have a few of, for say, like if you were drawing 3 concepts across 3 different pages, you can keep it quite nice and consistent with this sort of panelled style. It's quite friendly and familiar, almost sort of constructed like a comic book. But yeah, it just sets off the sketches from the page just quite nicely, as you'll see here as it's starting to come together. And then of course, name your concept and label your concept. If you want to develop any of the other concepts from your initial sketches, maybe pick another 2. That would be really great, because then you've got a nice range in these lovely sketch pages to show off. You might also label some of the details and key features in your detail view or across the concept as well. But I think we're pretty much there with the final sketch. So there we have it. We've constructed a sketch page with 3 different views using underlays that we've